And welcome everybody. This is Belgium, the fantastic Belgium Grand Prix, and Belgium, of course, the home for the 2021 Grand Prix of the world. I'm not naked actually, but I'm close to naked. And this is a corner on Belgium, and here's another corner on Belgium. Belgium, of course, is not a real country. It's just a lot of Dutch places stitched together. And of course, also the Belgians feed on a large version of French fries, which they call frieten, and mayonnaise. That came up very quickly, so couldn't really read it. But there you go. Found in Freknot, which is all words which I've just started pronouncing. Here's another corner, famous corner, very famous corner, of course, and another corner, and here's another corner. These are all Belgium corners. So how very exciting. More exciting than I think you'll find than the race was, but nonetheless, there it is. There's Belgium. Belgium, lots of water at Belgium. That's going to be a theme of today's show. And that was probably sometime. That's when the corner famously got damaged. And there we go. Some fantastic music to go with it. Yeah. So those are the conditions out on track for today's Belgium Grand Prix, or yesterday's Belgium Grand Prix. Although I say Grand Prix, not really grand. It was definitely a Prix, but it wasn't grand. But there we are. So anyway, I'll just go through what actually happened. So we had qualifying, and of course qualifying was of course the most exciting thing that happened all weekend. And qualifying, lots of people, Kimi Räikkönen included, went out in Q3. Then of course we had Q2. Stroll went out in Q2. That was probably the biggest thing that happened there. And then on to Q3. Q3, of course, was wet conditions, and a fantastic drive by, of course, Max Verstappen, who finished at first place, the only person to get under 2 minutes, doing a 1:59.765. Then Russell, the young Russell, in second place. Incredible drive for Russell. He managed to do 2 laps on a slow down lap, and then his real lap. So he managed to get 2 laps worth of heat into his tyres, unlike everybody else who only managed to get 1 in. And then of course it was Hamilton, followed by Vettel. I didn't realise that. Vettel in 4th place, Perez in 5th place, Bottas 6th place, Gasly, Ocon, Ricciardo, and no time for Norris, of course, because he crashed, which was the big news in Q3. Norris crashed in the conditions, couldn't hold it through Eau Rouge, and then spun into the barrier. Fortunately, he was all right. His car was repaired for the race, although that didn't make any difference at all. So that was basically qualifying, and that was it, really. Don't think there was anything more to say about the race. Fabio, what did you think about the race? Right, Fabio.
Yeah.
He's still
Yeah.
asleep from the race, apparently, because let's
Yeah.
face it, the actual race lasted quite a
Did,
number of hours.
did they start? I just
No.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
Fair enough.
they did start. They actually
Oh,
did the
yeah.
usual. Let's get paid today.
Yeah.
So we'll follow the safety car around for a couple of laps, call it a day, piss everybody off, and that'll be that.
Wow. Yeah. That was amazing. I mean, actually, the conditions, to be fair, were quite problematic. It wasn't so much the rain that it was on the track, even if there was a lot of rain, and temperatures were down. So I saw the I didn't see the Formula 3 race, but I saw the Porsche Super Cup race, which was before the race, and it was. I mean, it was really wet. Not as wet as during the as when the F1 race was supposed to be happening. The biggest problem was the visibility which was really, really, really bad. There were camera cards. You could hardly see the not the car in front of you, but the red lights of the car in front of you. So I understand it was problematic. So in a way, I mean, I agree. The fact that they postponed the race, But from that moment on, it all become a bloody charade, because basically what they did was, first of all they said, yeah, we got to start before 6 o'clock because at 7 is going to be the time limit, and then we're going to make 39 laps. Then eventually gonna wait. And then at 6:20 they just decided, oh yeah, oh fuck it, yeah, we're gonna race. We have a race. So they made. Okay, so this is interesting. They claim they made 2 laps with the safety car. I don't think they did, but I might be wrong. We'll ask Simon later about it. But basically, what they did, they supposedly made 2 laps, and on super wet tires, spooky. So super wet tires, basically, because there was no other way around. And then Michael Masi decided, oh yeah, oh, red flag, let's stop the race, and that's it. So basically, what happened is that the race happened. So no refund for the poor bastards, which stayed like 4 hours under the rain watching. Uh, no money for the teams. The race has been done, so the sponsors can complain and blah 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 blah. Yeah, and fuck everybody. Now, what I think should have happened is that, while I agree that at 3 p.m., well, actually, I think they should have started at 3, because they knew the condition were getting worse. But what I think they should have done, okay, let's wait a little bit and then let's start the race anyway. Let's make so you either do something like 15 or 20 laps behind the safety car, because you never know, you might find a window where you can have, I don't know, 10 15 minutes of race, and then fuck it, you stop it. Or what they might have done is let them race and see what the fuck happens. And if the driver decides no, it's too dangerous, they just pit, and they don't race. Nobody's is forcing anybody to race. So, but the way they manage all the thing, that was quite. I mean, quite. It's not the right word. It was super disappointing. It was basically made to honor the contracts, and also another thing. uh, So it would have been fine with me, even with what they did. But for one thing, which really I do not accept, is giving points. You you do that, you don't manage to do that, you don't give points. Fuck it. You say just yeah. I mean, the race cannot happen, and fuck it. But giving points to me was really was. It was a travesty. It was a charade. I mean, it didn't make any sense.
Mm. Well, other than the contract side of things, right? Because as I say, I believe the contracts for the TV is that they have to have a race result.
Yeah.
And
No,
so
agree.
there you go. And it's the TV money that's the big money, of course. That Formula One gets paid. So that's worth several millions per race. And so, of course, they have to declare the race completed, which means, according to the FIA, handing out points. Yeah, they did manage to get a complete race distance, because even though the rules stipulate that the results are put back a couple of laps, because of the way the race finished, it was suspended. So that means you don't. It's the last time past the line. They also managed to do 3 laps in total past the line, and that's what they counted as the race distance. So even though it says 1 lap, that's 1 lap because it was 3 laps minus the 2 laps for the suspended race to give the result. So the results are passed on the end of lap 1, whereas the actual race distance was 3 laps. So it's a lovely way of getting around it, of course, which we all knew they would do. And as again, the rules about finishing races and race distances are very convoluted indeed. So I'm not surprised. Okay, let's just go over the race results, if we may, please,
Mm-hmm.
Peter. So race results ended up being basically Max Verstappen first place, George Russell fantastic second place, third place, just let it run through, third place Hamilton, fourth place Ricciardo, fifth place Vettel, sixth place Gasly, seventh place Ocon, eighth place Leclerc, several people got penalties, ninth place Latifi, 10th place Sainz, 11th Alonso, 12th Bottas with penalty, 13th Gio, 14th Norris, of course with penalty from the crash, 15th Tsunoda, 16th Mick Schumacher, 17th Mazepin Spin, 18th Stroll, 19th Raikkonen, 20th Perez, who of course crashed on the formation lap.
Yeah.
And so that's how the points were handed out. And again, the only thing really worth talking about, of course, is Russell did a fantastic job in qualifying.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about Russell, it really did a brilliant lap in the qualifying. Although, I mean, those conditions, he was helped. I mean, I would say he was lucky. I would say there was a set of coincidences that work in his favor. But regardless, that doesn't takes away anything from his performance. The only thing I will say to Russell is that. So I understand that you're happy. I understand that you're bringing points to your team. It means a lot of money, but really, I mean, showing that you're happy on the podium, that come on, guy. I mean, really. I mean, relax. That was
Yeah,
a little bit too much. I honestly, well, it made sense that they made the podium because of the way that everything was going. I was actually hoping they were not going to make the podium or something a little bit more,
yeah.
But of course, they had to show, the
It's
champagne
TV.
and the watches and all
It's
the
the
shit.
TV. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they have to show everything. But yeah, but come on, I mean, getting on the podium and jumping, come on. There was a good thing, actually, which happened. Um, is that Bottas didn't manage to crash into anybody because basically it was no race. That's a
yeah.
good thing. Yeah, right?
I
Yeah.
actually saw a really good meme of a text message from Toto to George saying, "You're in P2. Could you please take out Max in the first corner,
Okay. Yeah.
and then you've got to drive some."
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, other than that, I mean, that was the old race. It was. I don't know. I mean, at a certain point, there were rumors that there were, well, actually rumors. They, at least on Sky Italy, they interviewed Steiner, and he actually said, he was hoping that that they were actually going to postpone the race to Monday, which is something. I mean, I think they should do that. And uh, the unfortunately some of the rules in F1 are are too old. And, I mean, all of them are complicated, but they're too old. I mean, in the US, and mind you, I wouldn't call the US as something that we should look at for motorsport racing, because they race something which is pretty agricultural compared to F1 and all the other stuff. But if they can't race because of rain, they just postpone the race and make the race the next day. I think they might have done that, or at least tried. Something like that would have been better anyway than what they did on Sunday, which was really. I mean, I don't know. There was a lack of testicular fortitude by everybody, from the FIA to the, I mean, to basically everybody.
Yeah,
And somebody should have took a very strong position, saying, yeah, I mean, We either do not race or we race on Monday, or just fuck it. Because I understand. I mean, it's a lot easier. A lot of drivers said, like Sainz, for example, said, yeah, I mean, we couldn't do anything better, but giving points was not fair. Fair enough.
A
I
lot of
mean,
drivers said that.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
think Lewis
Lu-
said that too.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, but
Well,
I
he
don't.
went further and said we should refund the fans the money.
Well, yeah, okay. The thing is that I don't think that this kind of. I mean, it's fine and dandy that the drivers say that. Cool. It's super cool, actually. But they should not be left alone in saying that. I would have wanted, people like, Toto Wolff or Christian Horner, I mean, which I'm just naming two of the guys that they seem to be that they want to talk a lot. In other instances, they are not shy
Yeah.
of talking with the press,
Well,
coming up and
I'll be honest here. Dominicali came out and said there isn't any chance of a refund.
yes, no,
He
no, yeah,
dismissed it straight off.
well,
So
yeah, no, no, I understand, but
and they can't do Monday because that means rescheduling the TV. It's the TV that hold the whip hand here. They paid the big bucks for Formula One. So
no, but okay, so I understand that, but to me that's even worse. That makes things even worse because if you are a team manager like from McLaren, okay, let's forget Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull, like McLaren, something mid tier, or Alpine, and you already know that the management has said no, there is no chance of going that. You could go on TV and say, I do not agree. I think we should not make the race. And you end up like a champion and you basically risk nothing. And still, they didn't do that.
yeah.
Nobody did that but the drivers. I think that was severely lack of testicular fortitude, as I said before. They basically, had no balls.
Yeah. Well, I think nobody wishes to cross the money man of Formula One, which is whatever that company is now. So again, we say it's a sport. I've said before, it's not really a sport. It's a money-making machine for those that
It
are at the
is.
top.
Yeah.
And the FIA hold the whip hand. I don't think the teams. It's in the team's interest to criticise the FIA necessarily. However, they do have this backhanded way of doing that, which is of course through their drivers. So I
Yeah,
think
but you see, I mean, the team managers and teams they regularly criticize the FIA when it suits them.
only one
Uh,
half of the FIA, not the money half, only the rule
well,
half.
yeah, okay, but I mean, I would have thought that I think that was a lost chance. I mean, somebody like Zach Brown or the guy from Alpine, I mean, not big players, but somebody from that area of the grid uh, coming up and saying, "Listen, I do not agree with that. I
Yeah.
understand the reasons, but still do not agree with that." I mean, I don't know who are their PR consultant or stuff like that. That would have
Mm.
been it. It would have been a fantastic publicity for them
Yeah.
at zero cost and no repercussions because they know that they have really no voice. They know that they cannot really. I mean, I don't know. It was
Yeah, and I'm not
was
so
kind of.
sure. I think, and it sounds a bit like bitching if you were to do it. Ferrari possibly because they had two cars in the points, but if you weren't in the points, it just sounds like whinging. So I'm not so sure about that.
Well,
I mean,
okay.
the problem at Spa is similar to how it used to be at Hockenheim, isn't it? And it is in some ways similar to Monza, which is there's trees both sides of the track. So all the rain gets thrown up into the air and can never get dispersed because there's no wind in there to disperse the rain. So the cars don't clean the track the way they do at other circuits,
That the,
and that
the
can be quite a problem.
there was actually there was actually a side problem specifically on Sunday because like for example on Saturday they had rain but the temperatures were a little bit higher and it wasn't that overcast. So when it stopped rain in Spa, if you ride something like 10 laps, you can actually have a trajectory. I mean, you can work with it. The problem on Sunday was that I think it was 13 degrees. It was overcast, so even if it stopped raining, I mean, cleaning the track with, even with those tires that I think they pump something like 200 liters per minute. It's insane how much water they displace. They simply were not able to do that because the temperature was so low, and the moisture was so high. There were guys from, again, from Sky Italy. They were saying that the whole area was actually, that's an ambulance, by the way. The whole area was actually flooded with water, and there was so much water in the terrain that you couldn't possibly displace all of that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it was a pity because it is obviously, it's one of the best tracks in the world right now. Uh, it's a fantastic track. They
Well, that
made a
was
lot of
what.
effort.
Yeah. So what I was going to say really was, I think it would have been better once they'd started at 3 o'clock, if they'd just gone round and kept going round for a number of laps,
Yeah.
and just to try and see what happens with the water, see whether it would have displaced it at all, and then gone from there. I mean, chances are it wouldn't have had any difference to the result, but
Right.
I think that would have been better on the fans, because at least they would have been trying to clear the water from the track, you know, and maybe, just maybe,
No,
something might have happened. But
no, but
again, I
you're
doubt
right.
it.
You're right. That's what I said at the beginning.
Mm.
Especially because they knew that. I mean, everybody knew. I had the radar thingy on my screen, and the forecast was getting worse as time goes by. So even waiting, we knew it was a waste of time because there was no chances that the weather was going to improve. The radar was quite clear. So if you know that it's going to end up, with a problem, just let them drive, 10, 15, 20 laps, and then you just call it a day, and that's it. But at least you give a chance to somebody to actually get some points. You can see some stuff. I think one of the biggest reasons why all of this happened on Sunday is because of the accident of Lando on Saturday. I think that was
Yeah, yeah,
that is one of the key factors why they were all so on their toes, in making those decisions. Yeah, so I think that played a lot of into the what happened on Sunday.
and it was a very big off as well. Let's just
Yeah,
say that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they weren't wrong to do it. Again, they weren't clearing the water. It was just, they were just spraying it up in the air, and then it was falling back onto the track again. So
Yeah.
in reality, of course, they weren't clearing water from the track like
Mm-hmm.
they normally would, and so yeah. Plus, it kept raining over, time and time again. So there was no way that we could have had a full race under any circumstances. So at the end of the day, these things do happen. Last time I remember it, I mean, I can't really remember it being like this, as bad as this. Maybe a couple of races, but Fuji 76 maybe.
Well,
I
well,
mean, that's how bad it was. So
well.
you know,
I remember races where it was this bad, but I never remember race where these things happen. Like I mean, the first one that pops in my mind is still in Spa. I think it was '98, where they
right?
started
Cool,
once.
cool,
They
George
they
Schumacher, yeah.
Yeah, they had a huge crash. They stopped the race. They restarted the race, and they have a massive crash on the second restart. And the situation were similar. Maybe visibility was a little bit better, was a little bit less, overcast. But the situation on the track was very, very, very similar. The thing is that uh, it is a fact that the world has changed. So uh, the general public does not and will not accept accidents the way that they used to have, in previous years. That's a fact.
That's true.
Even if the cars are way safer. I mean, way safer. The shunt that Norris had in the wall at Radillon, and just came out with yeah. I mean, yeah, my arm, is hurting a little bit. I mean, the kind of shunt he had, it would have had way bigger consequences, even 4 or 5 years ago. But I mean, times are changing, and I think this is what it is right now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Well, as usual, despite the rain, we managed to get our intrepid reporter over to
yes,
Spa-Francorchamps. He's actually just down the road from there normally, so we gave him a push bike this time, and here he is. And well done. Okay, yeah, I see you're at Spa still. I can see, yeah. Okay, yeah, you got the lifeboats out. I
I got a
understand.
lifeboat,
So,
yeah. So
how did it go for you? Did you manage to make it to Spa? What were the
uh
conditions really like, and
yeah,
how
as
did you get back?
well, I had the boat obviously, so that helped a lot. But yeah, it was a little bit disappointing. One thing that I do wanna mention, because both of you mentioned the crash that Norris had. There was a much worse crash in this weekend involving one of the Dutch drivers, Beitske Visser, who ended up in hospital after being struck by three cars at the same point where Norris came off. And so when I was watching that, it looked like a replay of the thing with Antoine Hubert, and so everyone here was really afraid of what happened there. But luckily, um, the car held up, and she's safe. She was in hospital, felt a bit bruised, but no serious injuries. So we have to take into consideration that the cars have become a lot safer uh,
yeah,
than they used to be. But I think that might have been one of the things that they took into account with not starting the race. Although, as you said, Fabio, at the start at 3 o'clock, the weather was a lot better. So they should have done a couple of laps then, and maybe even have managed to clear some of the water and have a few laps without the safety car. I don't know. Well, we're never going to know. It's uh,
yeah,
it's a sad thing. I do think that in cases like this, they should have a rule and then have the TV comply that they can do the race a day later, uh, so that the fans can have something to watch, and also have something where you can base the points on. Giving the points they gained in qualifying, it seemed, I mean, for Russell it was nice. I'm going to give him that. He got a podium, and which brings me on onto that topic. Total Wolf has said after the race that they have made a decision on the drivers, but they're not going to tell anyone yet. So what I found in the rumor mill is that they're waiting to confirm Bottas with Alfa Romeo, and once that is done,
yeah.
they will announce the driver lineup for 2022. So we'll have
Yeah, I
to.
believe Fabio said that last week as it goes. But
Yeah.
no, it's that's only because he's close to Alpha. Is that right? Rumor has it. Sorry, rumor has it that in fact he has been given an Alfa Romeo for just saying just that last week.
So Bottas, the driver which I've despised the most in all these years, not only made me win a case of beers, but only made me right last week. So
Yeah.
yeah,
What beer?
yeah.
What beer?
And still, I think is a butler. But you know, I mean, I can accept the fact that it's been good to me.
Yes. No. Well, I actually because he's going to Alpha. What I've said, Fabio, I phoned up Valtteri and said that he is going to deliver in the true butler style to your door a case of beer.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
congratulations on that win.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I get them. Fuck
Okay.
him.
So, but as usually, I do have a few things about the race. So that I've prepared a couple of things. So let's hop over to that. First of all, I want to say the race was done in Belgium. A Belgian rider, Hergé, famous for the comic Tintin, and now you think that has nothing to do with Formula
wow.
One, but
No, hang on. Before you get rid of that, isn't that Doug from Pine Creek?
no,
Carry on. Carry on.
no,
No.
that is Bobby, Tintin's dog. You're
Not the-
you're a
not
culture
the
shock
dog, I was
at
talking of Tintin.
times. But so the reason I mentioned this is because of the hairstyle of Tintin, and I don't know if it's really a thing, but it seemed that Pierre Gasly had the same hairdresser for this weekend. He had exactly the same piece of hair sticking up in all of the media shots. So I don't know. Maybe
Wow, I thought you were going to say something about Mazepin there because he looks just the
Oh,
dead spit of Mazepin.
we're getting there. We're getting there. I mean, I've shown it on screen several times. You failed to mention it. I mean, for the people who
No,
are
we've been
seriously
ignoring it. We've
going
been
through
ignoring it.
seriously going through a race and not mentioning one of the highlights of the race, but we'll get to that. So it was all a bit weird. So Lando Norris fell asleep mid race, which can happen. Nick Raikkonen did the same thing, but he picked the Red Bull pit to go and have a nap.
Right.
I have no clue, but must have been a surprise for the Red Bull people to find him in the back of the pit for some reason.
I can tell you exactly why it was. Because it was closer. So it just couldn't be fucking bothered. He just found a chair and said, fuck it, I'm gonna sleep here, you know, and let's see if somebody comes to me and tell me something, because I'm gonna rip their head off.
I mean, that is something that he would do. The minimum amount of effort to get the job done and still get the job done. That's how Raikkonen works. So
He's a fucking legend.
In the Ferrari pit, we saw. I think they were watching Tinder and see whether or not they could get someone to gang up with instead of the race. You wanted to say something?
No, but it's funny because I know exactly what they were doing. Because Leclerc talked about it on TV, and he said he was playing chess with Sainz.
Yeah.
And actually, what he was very keen to say, well, no, I was playing chess with Sainz, and I won.
And he won.
He was really keen to say that he was playing chess and he won.
That was it. So, and over in the Mercedes pit, they were playing poker. It must have been too cold to play strip poker, but at least
that's Alpine.
Oh yeah, Alpine.
Sorry.
Alpine. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, that's all right.
Total Wolf.
French, probably playing strip poker.
Yeah, Total Wolf explained to the people of the press how we evolved from apes, and he did that by this fabulous facial expression, I think. And then meanwhile, the people in Belgium, no money was no expense was spared to get the water off the track. We see these people vigorously trying to get the water off the track.
Yeah, very high tech. If you notice, one of them is a bit higher tech than the other. Huh?
I mean, there's a reason. There's a reason Belgians are rejected Dutch people. I think this picture pretty much sums that up.
I know.
But so let's get to the next one. Yeah, cost cuts. We saw at Red Bull that they had to fire the cleaning lady, and that's when you have a chair lying on the floor. And one of the mechanics missed that there was a chair and thought, oh, I'll slide over that, and that's going to look good on screen. Yeah. Meanwhile, as I said, the marshals they were playing what is called jeu de boule, uh, usually played on a
Very nice.
sandy surface, but it seems that they could do it there as well. And then yeah, in Haas, they started playing football because they noticed that the Dutch coverage had switched to football. So they were trying to get the TV back. I think I have no
Right.
clue what happened there. But the funniest thing that happened must have been at Mercedes, where they decided to do the Macarena.
7:30.
And yeah,
Nice.
the Australians, we know everything in Australia wants to kill you, which happened uh, with our dear friend Ricciardo, who tried to strangle one of his mechanics. So there was still a lot going on in the whole thing. So let's go to my race recap. We have a different podium actually, because it was a complete Mercedes lockout. Van der Merwe had the most laps, so obviously he was number one. Then we had Bernd Mailander, who came in second. And then there was the Mercedes truck driver, who made even more
Yes.
laps than the original driver. So he came in third, I think.
Fantastic.
I think, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That's very fair.
and then
Very
we
fair.
we have several mentions when it comes to this race. Anyone know what happened with Vettel?
Yeah. You mean in qualifying?
No, no, no. So we have for the drivers we have a hat trick during the entire weekend if they top all of the time scales. But Vettel had something different. So Vettel made a high five. So he is
Oh.
car number 5. He qualified 5th. He scored 5 points. And it was the the 5th time finishing in the points on the road this season. And
Oh,
if
fantastic! And I noticed Spooky got in there as well. Look at that, Spooky just
Yeah.
tweeting the German flag, just to include, to say thank you so much. Nice, nice, Spooky.
yeah,
Well done.
yeah, spooky got spookies everywhere. So and yeah, if we then we can go that it was also a record-breaking race as such, because it was the shortest race in Formula One history. It was the slowest race in Formula One history. It was the first 100% safety car race in Formula history. And it was the first ever podium in Russell's career in F1. So there are several records being made during this weekend. And yeah, I also have it on good authority that for next year they're going to bring something new so they can actually do a race. They're currently working on new prototypes for the 2022 season with special cars for the Belgian Grand Prix, and they're being tested, camouflaged, obviously with a different body, but it seems that they're working really well. And so probably next year we will actually see a race in Belgium, because as you can see, it works fantastic. So my last part, we have to mention it.
Tintin.
The fastest lap in the race, Nikita Mazepin. Of all people, the fastest lap. So we could say that he was the only one who wasn't behaving behind the safety car, but I won't go there.
Yeah.
The fastest
Well,
lap,
I'd also like to point out that's a slower lap than the W series.
yes, 3 minutes 18:016. I mean, that's quite a lap. I think that's
Well,
the exact same time that Lewis Hamilton in his plane needed to get back home from Spa. Uh,
you guys are laughing, but in 2050, when you will read the books about the Spa Grand Prix in 2021, you will see Nikita Mazepin fastest lap. So, yeah, I mean, it's an entry in the history book. And if I were Nikita Mazepin, I would take it and fuck all of you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was pretty much my recap. I did manage to get a picture during the final lap of the actual race, and I think that pretty much sums it up. That yeah, racing was bad. Um, so
Brilliant, yeah, fantastic. And that,
that
of course, is the problem with Spa if you race between the trees.
yeah,
So there we go.
so that was
And yeah,
my
they
recap
don't
for the day,
they
and
don't call it Eau Rouge for nothing.
yeah, we need to bring it up. Fastest lap, Nikita Mazepin.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something we're not going to see for a long, long time after this race.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quite possibly.
So,
Although it was clever of him to drop back from the train and then catch up again during one lap.
Yeah.
So they were obviously thinking about it. So
either
there you
either
go.
that or he fell asleep and thought, "Hey, I need to catch up with these guys." That's also what
Yeah.
could have happened. We don't know. We don't. I'm not saying that
No.
was what happened. We don't know. But yeah, so that was my recap of the race.
Well, that was great. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for that, Peter. And again, well worth the £3.50 that we spent on getting you there.
See?
Yeah.
I hope you got the bike back to the rental shop all right.
Yes, yes, yes. Obviously,
Excellent.
obviously.
And of course, next
I'm taking the boat home.
yeah, and of course next week we've got Zandvoort, so
Yeah.
that's even closer. So we're going to send you on a scooter this time.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
I'm not
bit cheaper
entirely,
for us.
I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to go there because, I've seen the weather forecast. We might be up for one of these
Oh,
races.
come on.
I don't
Really?
Yeah.
know. I'm hoping it's going to be different, but
Yeah, it will be different because, as I said, Spa is a particular circuit. If you've got trees both sides of the track, there's no wind to blow the rain off the track, so there's no point in circulating the cars. Whereas Zandvoort, very different. There should be a
That for
breeze
the
there.
yeah,
So,
it's actually a very interesting track. I saw the F3
well,
last year running there, and it's a little bit narrow. So I think qualifying will play a big part in it
yep.
because I think there's only one, maybe two places where you might think of overtaking somebody. But yeah, but the track looks way more interesting than I thought it would have been, at the beginning of the
The
season. So yeah.
the drivers have said this is Monaco without the walls.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same thing. You have to put in the effort during qualifying, and I've seen the drone shots, which I will show next week in the intro. The circuit looks really really nice. They've put up a lot of stands. It's kind of a feel like you have in Mexico and in Hockenheim, where you have the autodrome where everyone can see. So I'm still a little bit pissed off because last year should have been the first race on Southford, which would have been on my birthday, which
Oh boy.
should have made up for things because I'm still stuck in '93 when on my birthday we had to say goodbye to the late great Ayrton Senna. So, but it didn't happen. So, my birthday is not a good day to do a Formula One race on, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
yeah, and in Holland, everyone is stoked to see it happen, to finally see cars racing on Zandvoort again, and
Hmm.
it's going to be a nightmare for the people who are going there. I have been to Zandvoort at bigger events, and at some point it has taken me over 8 hours to get off the parking lot.
Yeah. I think it's the same situation in Mugello. I remember, going there, to watch the motorcycle races. Which, by the way, sorry, I forgot that. That, I mean, at least I had my fix on Sunday because I could see some proper races, in Silverstone with proper things. But yeah, I mean, Mugello is the same situation. That we had people taking something like 5 to 6 hours to make 30 kilometers, up to the highway. It's yeah, I can relate to the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. I mean, it's although again it's a washout. It's not the first time we haven't had that at Spa. So there you go. I'm a bit disappointed that they moved it back in the calendar, but apart from that, you can't really tell, I suppose. So cross fingers for next year.
Well, yeah, no, sorry. Before you go, that is a very good point, and somebody raised that point on TV and said, well, why do the race in Spa at the end of August? Why don't you race it earlier? Well, if they were planning on racing this year, like for example in July, it would have been even worse because basically part of the pit of the paddock collapsed because of
Yeah.
the heavy rains. So you never fucking know. So.
Well,
Yeah. You
the
never
the
know.
the Dutch commentator Olaf Mol put something forward. They still have an open spot in November, and so
Yeah, it's logistics of getting the gear around the world. Though.
Yeah, because I
also temperatures wouldn't be really great in Spa in November, but yeah, who knows?
well, I mean, there were 13 degrees yesterday,
Yes.
so I don't know how low
Yeah,
we
it
can
won't
get.
it won't be much worse in November, I think. Yesterday was just horrible, but it's the weather that we've been having here. It's we have had a ton of rain.
I,
It's
I can
hopeless.
actually see a good point. I can actually see a good point in racing in November in Spa. So Simons would not complain about the tires not getting to temperature for anybody because they would probably run on marbles. So that will equalize the thing. That will And by the way, Simons, I'm
Yeah.
waiting for you to say something about the tires about this race.
I'm not saying anything about the tires. Well, other than George Russell, who of course, unlike everybody else, did 2 warm-up laps in qualifying on his
Yeah.
Intermediate tyres, then did a cool-down lap, and then did his qualifying lap, as opposed to everybody else that did 1 warm-up lap, then a cool-down lap, then their qualifying lap.
Yeah.
So well done to George once again. I think that was the outstanding move of the weekend, really. And Norris also in Q2 was absolutely brilliant. He was absolutely flying. He did a 158 in wet conditions. So, well done to Norris as well. And it's unfortunately he got the commentator's curse from Martin Brundle, who said, oh, yes, of course, British drivers and Japanese drivers tend to be really good in the wet.
Yeah,
And
so
unfortunately, then Norris decided to go off. But there you go.
I
What can you
actually
do?
listened to that. It actually, I mean, I thought, well, what the fuck is he saying? Yeah, and then, everything happened. Yeah, good job.
Okay, jolly good. Okay, so as I say, we've got Zandvoort next week. So I'll be falling asleep through that because there will be no overtaking. And if there is, it'll be due to somebody going off, undoubtedly. But so there you go. But it's a new track, and we're glad to have it on the circuit. It should at least bring some entertainment for 1 year. And apart from that, I think we're done, really, gentlemen, because there's not a lot more to say about this.
Not a lot to
Just to
talk
go through
about.
the actual race time. for Max Verstappen apparently was 3 hours, 27 minutes, and 71 seconds. So 3.5 hours that took to do fucking 3 laps.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk about Mazepin and his fastest lap. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Anyway, there you go. Max Verstappen 12.5 points, George Russell 9, Lewis Hamilton 7, which means Max closes in on Lewis, and by my calculations, they're probably something like a 3-point gap at the top.
Yeah.
So
3
everything
points.
to play for next week, gentlemen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we will see everybody then. Thank you very much
We're in
for
for
turning up.
exciting second half of the season, I think.
Yeah, well, I hope it's more exciting than this, the beginning of fucking.
Yeah.
Fuck me. I've had enough.
It
Sat there watching that thing, just gave me a fucking headache.
it probably will be. Okay. So
Anyway, there you go. Oop. Sorry.
well.
Anyway, so there you go. Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to call that a night. If you want to switch over to the
Yeah.
outro,
Yeah.
we're ready to go there, Peter. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for the likes. And, oh, hang on. Just before you do. Okay, I think that's a message to Peter there.
Yeah.
From-
yeah.
From my son Spooky. It is. It is. Okay.
Okay,
Well,
thank you very much for turning up, everybody, and we'll see
See you
all
next
later.
week.
Take care now. Thanks,
Ciao,
Spooky.
ciao.
bye.